Let's watch this beauty.
Welcome back to another episode of Staple or Stinker. You love it, I love it, we all love it. And today,
Mexit, thank you for the 8 months. Thank you.
we have the great Sam from Team Samurai off of YouTube.
Thank you.
You've played a bunch of Yu-Gi-Oh!
I love Yu-Gi-Oh!
But you've never played Magic, have you?
Great, Jewel.
I
Think about a
haven't
6
played Magic,
months.
but I know what Magic the Gathering is.
All right.
I know you guys have like a very expensive card called the Black Magic.
It's the Black Lotus.
Oh, come on. No, I don't believe that. I don't believe that. That was scripted. That was scripted. No way. No way.
Close enough. So today, we'll have Sam guess how powerful these 5 Magic cards are.
Okay.
Let's get into the first one.
All right, I'm excited, man.
All right, what do you think about this one?
So this
You may play an additional land on each of your turns. Whenever you cast a spell, draw 2 cards. At the beginning of your end step, discard your hand. Okay. This is. It sounds broken when you make a deck with a lot of cheap cards, but I think this is. I don't. Having to discard your entire hand at the end of your turn, bro. Okay, so the thing is, I mean, you have to wait until turn 4 to play it even, and then after that it's like nice, but you need to play a lot of cheap cards, otherwise like you have to always discard your hand, right? If you always have you have to play all your cards basically. I think this card is bad because like let's imagine you build a deck. Imagine you build a deck that's supposed to function under this card and then you don't draw it. Right? Like, what if you don't draw it and then, like, all your deck is, like, one mana cards or some shit like that and you just don't have it?
card right here is called Song of Creation. First of all, your artwork looks absolutely amazing.
It does, it does.
So it has an enchantment effect. There's 2 effects, so it looks like a pendulum effect. You may play an additional land on each of your turns. Whenever you cast a spell, draw 2 cards. So you may play an additional land on each of your turns. So from reading this, I assume that you can play only 1 land a turn.
Yes, usually.
So now you're saying I can play 2 lands in 1 turn, and on top of that, each time I activate a spell card, I get to draw 2 cards.
Indeed.
Pot of Greed. Pot of
Oh
Greed.
yeah, it turns every card into Pot of Greed, but then there's a final line of text.
At the beginning of your end step, discard your hand. I'm assuming, well, Yu-Gi-Oh, you draw once per turn, but if you draw, you know what I'm saying, if you draw your entire hand, maybe in decks that requires you to have cards in the graveyard, this card might be insane, but I don't see placing additional land each turn and drawing 2 cards, bro. Screw the last effect, man, but I think this card's broken. It's a staple. Land of Creation, boom, staple, bro.
That's exactly what people thought when it first came out, right? People were very excited about this because there are free spells.
I think that's Yu-Gi-Oh brain right there. I think it's Yu-Gi-Oh brain. Because, like, imagine a card like that in Yu-Gi-Oh! Like a continuous spell that lets, like, whenever you activate a spell, you draw 2 cards, and then in the end phase, you have to discard your hand. No one would care, right? In Yu-Gi-Oh! It would be completely bonkers, right? Everyone would FTK everybody with that. But I think it's different.
In Magic,
In
they
Magic.
usually don't do a lot, right? In Yu-Gi-Oh, I know you don't pay mana to actually do stuff.
Yeah,
in Magic, if you
it's
don't,
free. Like, we don't pay anything.
In Magic, if you don't pay anything, you don't get a lot of it. It's in
Tiny,
return.
think about
But
that.
with this card, you suddenly get 2 cards, and people are so excited about it.
It's broken, yeah.
Yeah, that they were so happy about this to cast this. But it turned out that having this kind of effect, you had to build your whole deck around it, right?
True.
And suddenly,
That's what I
if you
said.
didn't have this card, or if your opponent had a good way to interact with this card, your whole deck kind of just didn't do anything because you had all these free or very cheap spells.
So I have a
Told
question.
you.
So you said that interact. So you're saying that if I activate this, my opponent had a chance to negate it?
Yeah.
The question, you guys have negates. Magic player has negates too. Okay, all right, I get
We
it.
literally have a card called Negate, which does exactly what you just mentioned.
Wow, okay, that card is definitely a staple then if it's in here. Just letting you know. Anyways, continue, sorry. Yeah, so is it a staple or a stinker?
It turned out to be a stinker. You kind of just don't do anything if it doesn't work out, if your opponent has an answer to this in any way.
So guys, Magic the Gathering, where Pot of Greed becomes absolutely garbage. There you go, next one.
Next one. What do you think about this one?
Oh, the Magic Mirror. Okay.
9 mana. This spell costs 1 less to cast for each instant and sorcery card in your graveyard. You have no maximum hand size. At the beginning of your upkeep, put a knowledge counter on the magic mirror, then draw a card for each knowledge counter on the magic mirror. Okay, so you're trying to cast this card for 3 mana. But you cannot do that early. You'd have to do it like, I mean, it's hard to evaluate, but like in the right deck, if you play a lot of instant and sorcery spells, you can cast this card like turn 4 maybe? Turn 5 maybe? Right? Then you maybe have enough spells in the grave. If you play like a mill deck or something. So turn 4 or 5, you play the card. And then at the beginning of the next turn, it draws you 1 card. And then the turn after that, it draws you 2. The turn after that, it draws you 3. I mean, I think that's too slow. I think that's too slow. It could be broken in some control decks.
This requires 6 water
lands. I
lands.
would say it's too slow.
It requires 3 water lands. We call them islands. It's blue mana. They produce blue mana. And then 6 mana of any color.
So 9.
9 in total, exactly.
You need 9 cards to activate this card. This card better be Exodia or something. All right? Legendary artifact. This spell costs 1 less to cast for each instant and sorcery card in the graveyard.
So instants and sorceries are basically like the trap.
I think you can cheat it out. Okay, maybe you can cheat it out and that's why it's broken, but honestly, I think that's... if you're wrong because of that, then you're just lacking context, honestly. I think the skill in this one is to evaluate a card just by looking at the card. If you don't know the context, if there's like a card in Magic that says for 1 mana, look through your deck and activate that card for free, then of course it's busted, but I don't think that should count, like, you know?
And spell cards of Magic.
Okay. You have no maximum hand size. At the beginning of your upkeep, what's an upkeep?
It's like, I think you call it standby at the start of your turn.
Oh, I say a standby phase or draw phase. Okay. Put knowledge counter on the magic mirror, this card. To draw a card for each knowledge counter. Okay, okay. All right. I'm a little bit excited here. The reason why I think this card is a staple is because...
It's because it says draw, Sam. Every Yu-Gi-Oh player sees a Magic card with the word draw on it, and they're like, that's a staple if I've ever seen one.
This is the first line. This spell costs 1 less to cast for each instant and sorcery card in the graveyard. So let's say you build a deck to put all these instants or sorcery cards in the graveyard. This card doesn't cost 9 cards to use.
It doesn't. It will cost a minimum of 3 because you can only reduce the colorless, like the 6 right
to 0.
Exactly. Right? So it only costs the 3 blue things.
Honestly, if there's a card like this in Yu-Gi-Oh that stays on the field continuously and reduces the cost to use a card like this, depending on the cards that you have in your graveyard, I think this card is absolutely broken. I think... Why are you guys giving me draw effects, man? I think all draw cards are broken. I think this card is staple.
All right. So it turns out it's a stinker.
Yeah, what the hell, man?
2 for 2.
What the... Why?
So it turned out to be too slow.
Is there like 1 turn kills in Magic? Can you kill me in 1 turn?
There are.
But how often does that happen? In Yu-Gi-Oh is like that every single deck.
Definitely less than in Yu-Gi-Oh. Right?
Oh, so after turn 2 it becomes good.
Yeah, and then I tried to trick you on this because this card is absolutely worthless. So I sleeved it up real nice and got a follow copy to maybe make you think that it actually does anything. It's worth nothing. Ready?
Magic mirror trash. All right, next one.
Ready for number 3?
Yes. City of Traders.
If you play a land, sacrifice City of Traders. Add 2 colorless mana to your mana pool. Bro, it's 230 euros. I feel like I shouldn't have that information. I feel like that is not information that I should have. I feel like I'm gonna call it a staple just because of that. But maybe it's just expensive because it's old. But the thing is, okay, so the idea behind this card is it gives you 2 mana for 1 land, because it is a land, which is better than most other lands, right? Most land gives you 1 mana. So it can help you like speed up, ramp up stuff. But then it dies as soon as you play the next land. So you can only do it for like a couple, like once or twice, right? Like, so So what you do is you play it on one turn, you use it to get 2 colorless mana, right? And then on the next turn, you tap it for 2 mana again, and then you play a land and then it dies. So it basically gives you like 4 mana for 2 turns. That seems fine, maybe. Like the thing is, I'm saying this because I've played a lot of Hearthstone and a lot of Runeterra, and it's like cards that cheat out mana, even though they look not great at the first glance, they always end up being very good. So I think this one is good, even though you do lose out on a land drop in the long term. Being able to generate a lot of mana in the early turns could be just good enough. So I think this is good. The only thing that might be not good about it is that it makes colorless mana, which I think a lot of decks don't need that. Right? It's like you can't use colorless mana for everything, but it still is probably useful.
This card is a land.
It is. It's the first land we're looking at today.
If you play a land, sacrifice city traders, add 2 colors. Oh, this card is broken. Absolutely. It's like you add 2 free cards directly from your deck to your hand, add 2 mana. It's a land with an effect.
Oh, so usually...
I'm not sure Sam understands how mana works, by the way. Adding 2 mana is not adding 2 cards from your deck to your hand.
Your lands always produce 1 mana, right?
Yes.
And this one produces 2.
So you play a land, sacrifice city traders.
Yeah.
So this card stays until you play another land.
Exactly.
So let's say my turn, I activate City of Traders.
Yeah.
And next turn if I play a land, this card is garbage.
Yeah.
Let's say I have 2 lands there already.
Yeah.
And I go, oh, City of Traders.
Yeah.
That means I have 2 lands.
Yeah.
2 lands plus City of Traders. Then I can use if I add 2 colors mana to your mana pool.
Yeah.
So just boom, right there.
You've got 2 mana, and then you've got your other 2 lands for 2 more mana. So
wow.
in total you've got 4 mana available.
Wow, that is this. So you're saying that, so if I have 3 manas and I just activate, this card stays forever. Every turn I can just go like...
Yeah, exactly. That's 2 more mana every turn.
So I have 1 line will give me 2 manas.
Yeah.
And you need manas to play cards.
Exactly.
Don't say manas.
But mana is not a thing you grab from your deck or anything.
It's already...
It's just something that's like floating in the air.
Oh yeah, you're like, oh, I want a mana, here you go, put it on the field. Something like that.
You don't put...
Come on.
Put it on the field. It's not on the field. It's a virtual currency that remains only for 1 turn.
Okay.
Right? So if I play this,
right.
And I tap it, and now I have 2 mana.
Okay, you know
and now I can play any card
that has 2 mana on it.
Costs 2 mana on it.
That's
right?
broken, bro.
Maybe it is. Would you like to call it a staple?
It's kind of broken. What the heck? Every turn?
You do not understand. Okay.
That's crazy, bro. You're just adding 2 colors mana to your mana pool until you activate another land. Like,
I hate when people are right for the wrong reasons. I hate that.
City of Traders, bro. This card is definitely a staple. 100%.
Yeah, you got it right.
I told you, yeah, that's right.
Oh, God. Well, we're 3 for 3. We're 3 for 3, but yeah, okay.
You know what? Screw the draw cards, these mana cards. Any resource cards added, this card is sick.
So there's obviously a big downside because you want to play a land every turn, right? So if you play this and then the following turn you play another land, you just lost a land.
So you're basically, what you need to do is you need to build up your lands first, then boom, activate that.
Either that.
Like that.
Exactly. That's I think how it was intended to be played too. But it turns out because regular lands only add 1 mana.
Yes.
So on turn 1 you play 1 land, you have 1 mana available by tapping it. So you can cast a spell for 1 mana.
Yes.
But with this one, if you play it on turn 1, you tap it, you have 2 mana available. And 2 mana, for those smart people up there, is double of 1 mana.
Yeah, of course.
So having access to that on turn 1 is extremely efficient.
This card's bad right now, right?
It is, and it's not legal in most formats, at least. There is a format where it's legal, and it is being heavily played still.
Wow, I like this card. I like it.
If you get the chance to play with it, play with it. All right, next card.
Clark.
Clark. Wait, why is that? There's a Superman shirt on. 5 mana. That's a lot. Trample haste. That's 8/8 though. Okay. When Clackbridge troll. Wait, why is it? Okay. When Clackbridge troll enters the battlefield. Oh wait, no. Did he call it Clark?
This card. I like it.
If you get the chance to play with it,
like
play with it. All right, next card.
Clackbridge Troll.
Oh, he said Clark. Okay, never mind. Okay, I was like, oh, wait, that flew above my head. Clackbridge Troll enters the battlefield. Target opponent gets 3 white goat creature tokens. At the beginning of combat on your turn, any opponent may sacrifice a creature. If a player does, tap Clackbridge Troll, you gain 3 life and you draw a card. Okay, so it's, I think 8/8 Trample Haste. 8/8 Trample Haste is, I think, really good for 5 mana. That's why they've added a drawback to this card. So we need to figure out if the drawback is big enough to make the card unplayable. The drawback is your opponent gets 3 tokens, which are 0/1 goat tokens, which is not insane, but I mean, they can be annoying because they can block shit. And then you cannot even guaranteed attack with it, because if you try to attack with it, your opponent can sacrifice a creature, which they will have because you give them tokens, and then it gets tapped, you gain 3 life and you draw a card. So the thing is, the way I'm looking at it is like, if your opponent doesn't want you to attack with the troll, they can just sacrifice the goat tokens, like for the first 3 turns, right? You summon it, then you try to attack with it. They tribute a token to tap it. You do draw a card and you gain life, right? You do draw a card and you gain life, but at that point you're just like you're paying 5 mana to draw a card and gain 3 life in the first turn. And then on the next turn, you draw a card again and you gain 3 life again. So far, you've paid 5 mana to draw 2 cards and gain 6 life, which I still don't think is good. On the third turn, you would draw again if they don't want you to attack. So it's like you've drawn 3 cards and gained 9 life for 5 mana, which is still probably not even that good. So I think this is not great unless you have, maybe if you have a deck that can easily clear the tokens. Right? Like maybe if you have a deck that can easily deal 1 damage to a lot of things, like if there's a card that says deal 1 damage to everything, you like summon this first and then you use that. I'm not sure if I like this card. I don't think it's that good.
So it requires any 3 card plus 2.
Does the card price always spoil the card power? I don't think so. I mean, very often there's like very expensive cards just because they're very old, and then like I don't think that's always.
Gold manas. So creature troll, trample haste. Don't know what that means. When Clackbridge Troll enters the battlefield, target opponent creates 3 0/1 white gold creature tokens. Scapegoat. Okay.
Yeah, I actually had to think of that exact Yu-Gi-Oh card. I think I've seen that card before.
At the beginning of like your combat of your turn, any opponent, what do you mean? There's like 5 opponents?
Sometimes we do play multiplayer formats.
Oh,
so
any opponent.
Most of the cards are phrased in a way where it works in 1v1, but it also works in multiplayer.
Any opponent may sacrifice a creature. If a player does, tap Clackbridge Troll. What's tap like?
Yeah, tap is like this. And the important thing in Magic is tapping is kind of like deactivating a thing. It's not defense mode or anything.
Okay.
For creatures to attack, they have to be untapped.
You have to do this?
You have to tap them to attack.
Oh,
so if it becomes tapped before it attacks...
Okay, Sam, tapping does not mean tapping on the card, dude. Oh my god, come on, Sam. Come on, you're making us look...
So then it cannot attack.
So tap, I tap that.
Oh no, you do the
so it's
90.
A switch. So it's a switch.
Yeah.
Okay, first of all, this is a
I love Sam, dude. I love Sam.
monster, right?
Yeah, this is the first monster we have today.
So I'm gonna say, first of all, just analyzing the card.
The thing is, I think it's funny because I do think I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt. I do think he's doing it on purpose. I think Sam is just hilarious. I think he's doing it on purpose.
8 attack, 8 defense, and how many life you have?
We start with 20 life, and then
20 life?
20 life.
This is 8!
Indeed, yes.
If it attacks directly, you lose 8?
And it also has the benefit that few other creatures in Magic have, that it has haste, so it can attack the turn you play it. In Yu-Gi-Oh, everything can do that, right?
Yu-Gi-Oh!
But
Yeah,
in
except for the
Magic,
first turn, yeah.
yeah, in Magic, every creature has the first turn rule where it can't attack the turn you play it, but this one can. And also trampling. In Magic, you don't attack monsters or creatures directly. You say this attacks, and then your opponent decides which of their creatures are getting attacked.
What if they have no creatures on the field?
They take the damage themselves.
So let's say you have a monster with 5 defense, and this is an 8, and I attack the monster, your opponent will lose 3 life.
Exactly.
This card generates 3 goat tokens, number 1. Number 2, if your opponent tries to block or their attack or whatever by sacrificing a goat, I gain 3 life points.
You do.
I gain 3.
So
and then I draw a card. Yo,
Oh man. I think it's bad.
it's broken. Scapegoat, Upstart Goblin.
but it generates the tokens for your opponent.
But still, if they generate the token, that means they have 3 defense monster. It still attacks over it. So of course they're scared for their life. They have to sacrifice the goat token, or else like, the damage goes over. So everything benefits me. It's either you leak the damage, or I draw a card.
Exactly. You got it.
Bro, so far you've just called every card broken.
It's a staple, bro. Absolutely.
I'm so sorry to tell you, but it's not. It
Four for
turned
four! Look at Sam.
out not to be that good anymore.
Anymore, so it was once good.
When this was previewed, we came from a format where there was a similar card that required your opponent to sacrifice something every turn, called Desecration Demon, and that card was really good.
I'm hurt, bro.
But it turns out that this card in comparison wasn't good enough because it gave your opponent the 3 monsters to sacrifice. And then every turn they had the choice of either surviving if they were under pressure or taking the damage if they could take the damage, right? So your opponent would always choose the thing that benefits you least.
That's crazy, bro. I was really excited for this card. Scapegoat and draw 1.
So many people were excited for this. It was a really, anticipated card, but it turned out.
Damn, man. I got duped.
That's also how we pick the cards, right? There's a bunch of really obvious stinkers in Magic.
You didn't get duped. You just call everything broken, and sometimes you're right.
And some obvious staples, but we try to get in between those.
Okay, sorry. Okay, trash. Sorry about that.
All right, final chance.
No chance. All right, so
Come
far,
on, let's go 5 for 5.
One.
1 for 4.
1 tap.
Well, honestly, for someone who has never played either Magic or Hearthstone, I think that's fine. All right.
Okay, making him feel good. All right.
Thalia, Guardian of.
2 mana, 2/1. Non-creature spells cost 1 more to cast. That card just has to be busted, right? You just play it in a deck that plays only creatures, and then your opponent just has to pay 1 more for everything. That card I've played Hearthstone and Runeterra. Like I've played against like Loatheb. I've played against what's the Demacia thing called? The Demacia thing that makes all spells more expensive. That card was freaking expensive, dude. Stony Suppressor, yeah. Stony Suppressor, that card was so annoying to play against, dude. I still have... Dude, I loved Freeze Mage, I loved Miracle Rogue, dude. Whenever my opponent would play freaking Loatheb, I still have nightmares about that. I sometimes wake up at night, like, I see you. You know, like, dude, this card's busted.
Thrabin. This card requires one mana plus 1 moon mana, so 2. First of all, the art looks amazing. It's a legendary creature. It's a human soldier. What does that mean?
So human soldier, not that important. It has some.
It's just a name.
Yeah, it's somewhat. There are archetypes that build around it, but that's not the primary reason why cards are good usually.
Okay. So first strike, non-creature spell costs 1 more to cast. What?
So first strike is
mana.
It deals damage. But if it ever ends up in combat with another creature, it deals damage first.
The first strike don't matter, I don't think. I don't think this first strike matters because I think this card is used more as a stun card. So if I play this on turn 2, I summon it, and if your opponent, let's say, we're trying to plan something with 2 manas, they can't because guess what?
It now costs 3.
I just locked you.
Yeah.
But just to summon this. This is definitely a staple. I think.
Staple?
Yeah.
All right, yeah. You're a spot.
Yes!
So the strat was we've just called everything an absolute broken staple, and sometimes we were right. We found all the staples. I mean, you cannot sneak a staple past this man. You cannot sneak any staple cards past Team Samurai X1. And there's no shot that you can ever get a staple past this man. Like, they will know a staple when they see one.
I knew it. I knew it. The first strike didn't matter, right?
It does matter. It contributes to the card being good because it makes it really difficult to interact with in the early game. But you correctly identified that the much more powerful part is the cost. Non-creature spells cost 1 more to cast.
Yes.
I think I need to hit up Card Market and do this again to represent the Yu-Gi-Oh community a little bit better. I need to shine some better light onto the Yu-Gi-Oh community. I think I need to go back and do another one of these.
Because it is a stun piece.
Oh yeah. So what you're trying to do is you kind of build around her. You set up first. You have your setup already, so all your cards are secured. Then, bam.
Also, keep in mind that this only applies for non-creatures. If you just play creatures, you just play a creature, another creature, creature, you don't ever have to pay more mana for those because it only affects non-creature stuff.
Wow.
But if your opponent relies
He didn't even realize that.
on
non-creature cards.
Yeah.
Because so your deck, I would assume is built around creature cards.
Exactly.
Ah, so Thalia is broken then.
Oh my god, come on.
Yeah.
Gee, I like that. Okay.
Yeah, she's really good there.
I got it. Two for 5.
All right,
Now you got it. You've already called it a staple like 2 minutes ago, but now you got it. Yep.
you redeemed yourself.
Yes.
You got the last one. So well done, really. For someone who hasn't played like a mana-based game
Yes.
so far, well done.
Thank you. I appreciate that. You know what? I was very excited. Most of these cards sound absolutely broken.
Oh man. That was funny, dude. That was funny.